Mass Media.
This is Cannabis Enlightened with Dr. Leroy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis Enlightened, brought to you by March and Ash. I am your host, Dr. Leroy. Also, many thanks and love to all the talented folks at Olus Media who produce Cannabis Enlightened. Today, I am absolutely delighted to spend some time with two beautiful people who, along with March and Ash, are really making a difference in our community and region, changing lives, creating entrepreneurial opportunities, and setting the stage for people who are making their second chance in life. Joining me today to discuss this life-changing venture are Roberto and Araceli Mareno, who have developed a project, a company that's called the Red Thread Project. And this project, ladies and gentlemen, really has made a difference in the lives of people who are looking for a second chance. And March and Ash are very proud to be a part of this venture to help people help themselves. Roberto, welcome to the program. And I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about the Red Thread Project and how you got started.
Thank you, Dr. Leroy, for having us here. And basically, my wife and I, we opened up the business in 2011 as Poli Diseños or Poli Designs. And in 2017, we saw a news article where companies were opening up their businesses inside the state prisons in Baja California. And at that time, we were already thinking of expansion, needing to hire workers, and we said, well, why not participate in this venture, going inside the state prison, helping them earn an income inside while they're serving their time, and develop their skills in the sewing industry.
So what kind of skills did you bring to you're talking about, you're working with ladies that are in the prison system in Mexico.
Right. So we started in 2017 making contact with the government officials of our interest to participate. Unfortunately, 6 years later, pandemic, change of government, administration, we finally got invited not to go to the state prison and take out there where the men are held, right, but they just had opened up the first female prison in the city of Tijuana. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up going there. And the skills, there's we have about 5 different sewing machines, but there's a lot more. It's just that the apparel that we're making, we just needed to use that so they get to learn how to use those 6 machines, the techniques.
Right. So the ladies that are in prison right now, mm-hmm, you and your wife are teaching them sewing skills. So what are they making? Are they making uniforms? Are they making pants? What exactly are they making?
So my wife, with her experience since she was like 6 years old. She had the experience with family business and everything, so she's passing on the skills to these women. They're making pants, vests, security vests, chef jackets. They've made dresses.
Okay.
There is a dance group that wanted dresses that look like from the movie Wednesday. And so they were able to make those. A lot of the women cried because they couldn't believe that they actually made something like that, Right. So we're a company that are versatile because we create apparel to the desire of the customer. We're not like other companies in Tijuana or Mexico where it's just the same thing day after day after day. Mm-hmm. So we're more versatile.
So are you also making uniforms or clothing for children?
So they are making like the school uniforms for children,
Okay.
and then they've also done like we had kids from preschool participating in a Christmas festival. So they
Okay.
made like little elves outfits and
And I think I read something where you also are making or designing Little League baseball uniforms for young people.
yeah, definitely. So one of the contacts from Marsh and Ash, they are coaches for a little league team in Hummel, and so
Right.
we got together and had a game between the Little League in Tecate
Right.
and in Mexico and the Little League in Hummel. So we had a binational game, and we ended up making the baseball shirts for that.
Okay. And this thing kind of snowballed in that after the uniforms, and you were already working with March and Ash, and you started making March and Ash apparel.
Yep. We're currently developing, well, it's already developed. We're just manufacturing now the special edition Marsh and Ash baseball cap.
Okay.
And so the proceedings from that sale is going towards the Red Thread project that we got going.
Now, this partnership, what makes me feel real good about this as a board member for Groundworks Holding, that is basically over, March and Ash, is that you are an entrepreneur teaching women who, I guess when they got out of prison, they wouldn't have any skills. You're teaching them skills so that now they're entrepreneurs on their own. So we're giving back along with you. We're partnering with you to help give back, to help these ladies to build a career for themselves and for their children, for their family. It's very beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, these collaborations with companies like Marsh and Nash helps out to further our goal in teaching them how to open up their own business once they get out with the skills that they developed inside. Because normally the reinsertion program that is taught inside state prison systems is how to get along with your coworker, your boss, how to, be an employee. Versus what we're doing is we change the chip on the female from becoming an employee to becoming an entrepreneur once they get out.
Okay, now, so these ladies were not expecting this to happen.
No.
When they're in prison. They were expecting to, I guess, do their time and then get out and then look for something to do.
Right.
Okay, so do you have any examples or stories of women who, when they have, learned these skills and they see what they can produce, that this is life-changing for them?
There's one in particular that my wife talked about where her cellmates were keeping an eye on her because they thought that she was, going down a bad road. And so she was taking medication.
Okay.
And so once we popped in, we didn't know about this, but we popped in and started teaching them, putting them to work. And next, maybe like 3 to 4 weeks later, one of the workers came up to my wife and said, you know what, this is helping her out a lot because we had to keep an eye on her. And now she's happy, she feels useful, she's like participating, and she's making a wage that she can contribute not just for her, but for her family.
Fantastic.
And
Fantastic.
I think a couple of months later, she was off meds.
Oh, that's great.
It got to the point, I forgot to mention, it got to the point where the correctional officer came into the studio to get her to come get her and take her to her medical appointment. And she said, no, tell her I'll show up later. I need to be here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, one of the things that the listening audience can't see because they're listening is that your wife is here with you. And she is very moved about this program and
Right.
about what's going on and the changes it's making in the lives of the ladies in prison. And I noticed that she teared up. I mean, because she was thinking about it so hard that this is a moving experience for not only the people that you work with, but for the people that are working with the ladies in prison.
Right.
So, I think it's absolutely magnificent.
Right.
Absolutely
No,
magnificent.
definitely. It is a an experience, you know. And it's not something that we were looking to feel, you know. And we just thought it was just going to be an ordinary work day, you know. But watching, you know, how they're so appreciative, you know.
Yeah. So when the ladies get out, they have these skills. They know what to do. Do you continue working with them to help them to set up their business or get on the entrepreneurial, you know, I guess, bandwagon or path so that they can get customers and start to develop a business?
Yeah, that's the idea, because not all of them, you know, once they get out, live in Baja. A lot of them from other states. So the ones that live in Baja, the idea is to connect them with like the local chamber, so that the chamber
Okay.
could teach them how to open up a formal business versus an informal business. The idea is to connect them with the Secretary of Work, which is they have grants that allow you to get machines, sewing machines. The amount that they normally give out is enough for 2 sewing machines, which is the 2 basic machines that you could use for any type of apparel. And once they show proof that they've been using the sewing machines for a year, then it's theirs. They give them the receipts.
Oh my
There you go.
goodness. That's absolutely magnificent. Absolutely magnificent.
So after that, we started making chef jackets, restaurant uniforms, medical uniforms, and now we're able to develop baseball caps from scratch. You know, we don't get blanks from a catalog and just put the embroidery on it. We actually source products and sublimate underneath the brim or on top of the brim, specialized colors for the hat. And that's how we got connected with Marsh and Nash.
Hey, this is a great place to take a break. We'll be back with more of the show right after this. Man, weekends can really put you in a haze. Mondays especially can always be a beast. And sometimes you need something to kind of get you from weekend to weekend. Well, why not just stop by March and Nash and enjoy No Tax Tuesdays? That's 30% off selected brands. That's 30% off selected brands. That's No Tax Tuesdays. To get all the details and to stay up on all that's going on every day, you can just follow and subscribe the Hilariously Blunt and Cannabis Enlightened podcasts. I mean, they're both sponsored by March and Nash. Or visit marchandash.com. The Dear San Diego podcast is produced in collaboration with The Times of San Diego. Repeatedly recognized by the San Diego Press Club, The Times of San Diego delivers timely and transparent news to, for, and about America's finest city. To learn more on how you can support this trusted resource of information, visit timesofsandiego.com. Hey, let's pick up where we left off. Back to the show.
Welcome back to the show. As all of you heard, we're doing a very moving episode today that is moving because it includes a partnership, how March and Nash is working with the community and the region, making a difference in the lives of people who are looking for a second chance. Roberto, as I said earlier, your wife is here with you, Araceli, and I wonder if, so as a teacher, you've been working, I understand, learning sewing since you were 6, 8 years old. What does this mean to you to work with the ladies, to help them to make changes in their lives?
Ha sido una experiencia.
It has been an experience. Excuse me.
Ha sido una experiencia con ellas.
It has
Muy
been a very
bonita.
beautiful experience with them.
He aprendido mucho de
I have
ellas
learned a lot from them
porque
because
pues conoce su vida antes de
I
estar
got to know their lives
detrás de las
before
rejas.
being behind
La
bars.
mayoría tuvo infancias muy
Most of
difíciles
them had very difficult
y
childhoods
sin apoyo,
and
lo cual les
without
llevó
support,
a caer en
which led
a
them to
cometer
make
errores,
mistakes,
a caer con gente que no
to
debían.
fall in with the wrong
Pues,
people.
Me ha permitido conocer más allá de
And it has allowed me to
están
understand
pagando
more about
una
what it
sentencia,
means to be
me ha
serving
permitido
a sentence.
conocerlas más allá de
It has
como
allowed me to
personas.
see them more as people.
Ellas,
Some of them,
en algunas,
well,
algunas de ellas nunca habían
some of them had
trabajado.
never worked before.
Para ellas fue su primer
For
trabajo.
them, it was their first
Nunca
job.
habían tocado una máquina de coser.
They had never touched a
Entonces fue
sewing machine.
enseñarles desde
So it was teaching
el
them
uso de la
from the
máquina.
basics
Yo
of
inicié
using
desde
the
niña con mi
machine.
familia
I started as a child with my family,
y compartir con ellas
and
este
sharing this
conocimiento que yo
knowledge
adquirí
that I'd
por
acquired
años
through
de
the
práctica
years
con mi
of
familia,
practice with my family has
pues
been
ha
very
sido muy grato.
gratifying,
Principalmente porque
especially
ellas lo están viendo
because
como un
they
modo
are
de vida
seeing
al
it
momento de que ellas cumplan su
as a way of
sentencia.
life when they complete their
Em,
sentence.
Han sido, me han
They had
recibido muy
received
bien
me very
porque
well because
generalmente
generally
las
people
personas
who
que van
go there
siempre van con
always
el
go with the
estigma
stigma
que
that
son
they are
criminales,
criminals, right?
¿no? Y se
And
entiende,
it's understandable, but
pero
they
ellas
look for a
buscan
way
la forma de no sé cómo
I
explicar.
don't know how to explain
Ellas
this,
tratan de buscar la
but
forma
they
de
look
cómo
away
quitar
to
ese
remove that
que ellas
stigma
mismas se
that they
generaron
created
por haber
themselves
cometido un
by
delito,
committing a crime
y pues buscan
and
una
seek an opportunity
de
to
que
be
las
seen
vuelvan a
as
ver
people
como
again.
personas. Muchas veces, bueno, algunas de ellas
Sometimes,
no tienen
well,
visitas,
some
no hay
of
familiares
them
que las
don't have
visiten.
visitors. No family
Para ellas el
members
hecho de
visit
salir
them.
todos
And
los
for
días de
them,
su
getting
celda
out of their
a
cell
realizar
every
una
day
actividad se ha
to do an
convertido
activity
en
has become a way
un
of
modo de
life.
vida para ellas. Algunas de
Some of
ellas
them have
han
expressed
que eso les ha
that it has
permitido
allowed them
como
to
que tener
regain a
nuevamente un
sense of
sentido a su
purpose
vida,
on their lives,
porque las
because
que no salen de su
those who
celda
don't leave their cells
solamente una
only
semana
have the
tienen
right
derecho a
to
4
4
horas de
hours
luz.
of light in a week.
El resto de la semana, las 24 horas están en su celda.
The rest of the week,
Entonces,
the 24
el hecho
hours
de que ellas
are
ya
spent
salen
in their
8
cell.
horas, 5 días
So
de
the
la
fact
semana,
that they are
para ellas
now
es
out
estar en un
5 days a
espacio donde
week,
nuevamente se vuelven
being
a
in a
sentir
space where they feel free again,
y aparte de que se sienten libres, es un
and
espacio
also
donde están
learning
aprendiendo
something
algo
new.
nuevo. Para mí enseñarles desde perder
For
el miedo
me,
a la máquina
teaching
porque,
them
pues,
to lose the fear of a
tienen el miedo de
machine
que con la aguja se van a coser el
because they
dedo,
are afraid
nunca
that
habían
they
estado
will
frente
sew their
a
finger
una
with the
máquina,
needle,
cuidar los detalles del
having never
ensamblador de una
been in front of a
prenda,
machine, taking
enseñarles
care of
desde
the
los tipos
details
de
of assembling a
telas,
garment,
las
teaching them
prendas, cómo se
about the
deben de
types
ver
of
una
fabrics
prenda
and
terminada.
how the finished
Ha
garment
sido
should
muy
look.
gratificante para ellas y gratificante para mí el poder enseñarles un
Has
oficio
been very
que a futuro
gratifying for
puede
them and
servir
for me
como
to be able to
un
teach
medio
them
de
a
vida,
trade
sin
that in
tener
the
que
future can
salir a
serve
buscar
as
un
means
empleo
of
y les
livelihood
cierren la puerta
without having to
porque
go out
pues tienen un antecedente.
and look for a job
Entonces,
and
la
to get the
costura
door closed
permite que
because
ellas puedan estar en su
they have a
casa
criminal record.
desarrollando una actividad económica y
So
puedan
sewing
solventar sus
allows them to
gastos
be at home
y
developing
mantener a su
an
familia.
economic activity, and they can cover their expenses and support their family.
So it also sounds like that learning these skills helps them to change their perspective about themselves
Exactly.
and how others may view them. They view them now as a person with skills as opposed to an inmate, somebody that's been to jail or been to prison, that's done something wrong.
Well, like I said, one of the ideas was to change their mindset of the reinsertion program that they normally teach them is to be employees. But to go out to be an employee a lot of employers ask for their background checks. So when they
Right.
get the background checks, they're going to say, "Oh, you've been in prison. You just got out of prison." And a lot of companies, they take advantage of that and they say, "Oh, well, you're not going to get the full minimum wage. I'm just going
Right.
to give you the half of it," or just going company to company, And so the idea here is that they are able to open up in their homes their own business with this new skills that they develop.
That is tremendously interesting. Can you tell me how far-reaching is your program in terms of the ladies that you help? Where do they go when they leave the prison? Do they go just to Mexico or to San Diego or other parts of the United States?
Bueno, ahí en donde estamos ahorita,
Okay.
también hay ciudadanas
In the
americanas
place
que están
where we are right now,
internas ahí.
there are also
Cometieron un
American
delito en
citizens
México y están
who are
aquí en
incarcerated
México.
there.
Entonces,
They committed a crime in
pues,
Mexico
puede llegar el
and they are
momento
detained in
de las que
Mexico.
tenemos ahorita
So
colaborando con
it could
nosotros,
happen
algunas
that
salgan
one of the
y puede
ones
hacer
we
que
have
alguna
collaborating with us
ciudadana
right now
mexicana
might get
entre
out,
al programa
and
con
maybe
nosotros.
an
No
American
depende de nosotros
citizen
la
could join the
selección,
program with us.
depende del centro. Ellos
The
hacen un
selection
proceso
doesn't depend on
de
us.
selección, tienen
It
que
depends
pasar
on the center. They do a
pues, todos los
selection
test de
process.
criminología,
They had to
de
pass all the
psicología, y que sean personas
criminology
aptas
and
para
psychology
trabajar en equipo.
tests
No pueden ser cualquier
and to
persona,
be the
también hay un
people
proceso.
that fit to
Entonces,
work in a team.
puede ser que en algún
Not
momento
just anyone can do
tengamos
it.
alguna ciudadana americana colaborando con nosotros.
That is also a process.
El proyecto
So it
nosotros
might be
queremos
at
hacerlo un poco
some
extensivo,
point
tanto
we have an American
como
citizen
estamos en
collaborating
frontera,
with us.
poderlo
We want to
extender al lado
extend
de
the
San
project a
Diego,
bit
y en
since we
algún
are on the
momento,
border
pues, que
to
se pueda
extend it to
replicar en
San Diego
algunas
side
otras
and
cárceles.
eventually replicate it in other prisons.
You also mentioned ages. How young are some of the ladies that you work with? What's the range?
Pues sí es muy variado el rango de edades.
Well, the
ahorita
age
la persona,
range is very
pues,
varied.
más grande que está con
Right now,
nosotros tiene
the
como
oldest person we had with us is
56
about
años más o menos,
56 years old,
y la más chica
and the
tiene
youngest
30
is
pocos, creo.
32, I
Entonces sí
think.
es muy variado el rango de edades.
But yes, the age range is very varied.
En población, así se les llama
They call all the
a
inmates
todas las que están
the
internas.
population.
Me tocó ver
I
muchachitas
have seen
de
girls
21,
as young
22 años
as
ya
21,
internas ahí.
22 years old already incarcerated here.
Also, keep in mind that sometimes there's teenagers that are in jail and they transfer up to a adult
Right.
prison once they reach ¿a qué edad se van de juvenil a adulto?
Hasta los 18 años se quedan
Until
en
they are
juvenil,
18
después de
years
los
old,
18
they stayed in
cumplidos, ya
juvenile.
van a la-
After turning 18, they go to the adult facility.
We're looking to expand the program into San Diego County jails and hopefully beyond to other jails. We're creating a manual that will help be able to set it up faster. Instead of reinventing the wheel, they'll just follow our guides how we did it.
Excellent. Excellent. So it's very interesting to hear what you're doing. Can you give me a little bit of information about concerning how you got to this level? How did you develop your skills?
Bueno, todo inició por mi mamá
Okay.
y empezó a coser.
Everything started with my mom, and she started sewing.
I'm sorry. Bueno, mi familia es una familia, digamos, clase media.
My family is a middle class
Por
family.
cuestiones económicas, pues el
For
salario de
economic
mi papá no era
reasons,
suficiente para cubrir
my
las
dad's
necesidades
salary
del
wasn't
hogar.
enough to cover the household
Mi
expenses.
mamá no sabía coser.
My mom
Entonces,
didn't know how
ella
to sew,
empezó a ir con unas
so she
familiares de
started
mi papá
going
para que le
to some
enseñaran a
relatives
coser.
of my dad's to learn
Entonces,
how to
a
sew.
partir de ahí, pues,
And from
a ella
there,
no le permitían usar las máquinas porque no
then
sabía coser.
she wasn't allowed to use the
Entonces, ella
machines
aprendió
because she didn't
solamente
know how to
viendo
sew.
cómo hacían las
so she learned just by watching
Mi
how things were
abuelito,
done.
su papá de mi mamá, le apoyó para que
My
comprara
grandfather,
sus
my
primeras
mom's dad,
máquinas.
supported
saber
her to
coser.
buy her first machines
Entonces,
without knowing how to sew.
afortunadamente encontró una persona que le diera
So
trabajo.
fortunately, she found someone who will give her work.
Obvio, la calidad del trabajo pues no era el adecuado.
Obviously, the
Sin
quality
embargo,
of
esta
her
persona
work
le siguió
wasn't
dando
good,
trabajo a mi mamá.
but this person kept giving her work.
Ella buscó esa forma de
She
buscar
saw a
un
way
ingreso
to
extra
find an
para el
extra
hogar,
income
porque era la
for the
única forma en que ella
household
no tenía que salir de
because
la
it was
casa,
the only
podía
way she didn't have to
cuidar de
leave the
nosotros.
house and could stay to take care
Nosotros
of
somos
us.
4 hermanos.
We are 4
En ese
siblings.
momento éramos 3, mi hermano el
At
más
the
chico
time,
nació después.
we were 3. My youngest brother
Entonces,
was born
ella,
later.
al tener el trabajo en la casa, pues estaba al cuidado de nosotros.
So with the work in the
Nosotros íbamos a la
house,
primaria.
she was taking
Entonces,
care
ahí
of
fue donde
us.
ella nos
We were
mantenía
in
en cierta
elementary
forma
school,
ocupados.
so that's how she
Después
kept
de
us
después de
somewhat
hacer
occupied
las tareas de la
after
escuela,
school,
ayudarle con lo que era el quehacer
helping
de la casa.
her with the house chores,
Ella en la
and
máquina
she
sentada,
sitting
nosotros
at the sewing
alrededor de ella,
machine,
ayudándole
we around
a
her,
separar las
helping to
piezas,
separate the
los
pieces,
hilos,
removing the
acomodar.
threads,
Ahí fue donde nosotros
organizing.
empezamos a
So that's where we started to
aprender a
learn to
coser.
sew.
En ese entonces yo tendría
At that time, I
6
was
años, 5 años a lo mucho.
6, 5 years old
Yo soy
at
la
most.
segunda de los 4.
I am the second of the 4,
Fue la forma en que nos empezamos a introducir en el
and
mundo
that's
de la
how
costura.
we started getting introduced
La
to the
primera vez
world
que
of
usé una
sewing.
máquina de coser, yo tendría
The first time I used a sewing
unos 7
machine,
años a lo mucho.
I was
Y,
7
pues, a
years
partir de
old
ahí
at most.
fue ayudarle a
And
mi
from
mamá,
there, I was helping my
coser,
mom
a la costura, porque
with
era la forma en
sewing
que podíamos solventar los
because
gastos del
that
hogar.
was how we could cover the household expenses.
Pues yo terminé lo que fue mi educación
I completed my primary, secondary, high school education, and then I entered university.
Estudié en la Universidad Autónoma
I
Chapingo.
studied at the
Yo soy
Universidad
ingeniero
Autónoma
agrónomo de
Chapingo.
profesión.
I am
Sin
an
embargo, la
agricultural
costura
engineer by
siempre ha estado
profession,
presente. O sea,
but sewing
nunca
has always
la
been
dejamos de
present.
lado.
We never left it aside.
¿Por qué? Porque era la forma en
Why?
que podíamos cubrir los
Because it was
gastos.
how we could cover school expenses.
Terminando la universidad,
After finishing university, I was teaching in a high school, taught classes in a high school, worked for the university, and also
trabajando
in
para
the
la universidad
laboratory for a
también en el
while.
laboratorio un tiempo.
And then
Y después, pues casi todo fue mi carrera agrónoma, estuve trabajando ahí.
most of my career was
Llegué aquí
an
a Baja
agronomist.
California, pues ya voy a cumplir 18
I was working there and I came to Baja
viviendo en
California.
Tecate.
I had been living in Tecate for
Y,
18 years
pues, la
now,
costura siempre ha estado presente en mi vida. Trabajé para la
and
Secretaría de
sewing
Agricultura.
has always been
Después
present
conocí a
in my
Roberto.
life. I worked for the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yo ya tenía una
Then
máquina
I
de
met
coser
Roberto.
casera. Y pues yo ahí
I
hacía
already
trabajo
had a
porque
home sewing
yo
machine,
sabía.
and I
Y
did
él fue el que empezó
some work because I knew how to sew.
a ver el potencial que
He was
podía
the one
tener. Aparte de mi
who
carrera,
started to see the
también con la costura, y
potential
fue donde nació
that I
el
could
Político.
have aside from my career
Porque
with sewing.
Él vio el potencial.
That's where
Yo hacía las
Politidiseños was
prendas,
born
él hacía la
because
publicidad,
he saw the potential.
y, pues,
I
yo
made the
aprendí a
garments,
hacer
he did the
desde el
advertisement,
patronaje,
and I learned everything
al
from
ensamblado,
pattern
ya
making to
conocía las
assembly.
telas, para qué eran, qué tipo de telas
I
para
already
un uniforme
knew the
deportivo,
fabrics,
para
what
un
type of
uniforme de
fabric
cocina.
was for a sports
Era
uniform,
la
for the
experiencia que
kitchen
había tenido
uniform.
durante los años de
So,
trabajando con mi mamá en el taller.
this experience was
Ya de ahí,
acquired over the years of working with my
tomé
mom
algunos
in the
cursos de
workshop.
corte y confección.
From there, I took
Hice 2
some
años
cutting
de
and tailoring
licenciatura en diseño
courses
de modas, el cual
and
tuve que
did 2
dejar
years of a degree in fashion
detenido
design,
por el
which I
proyecto
had
que
to
tenemos
put on
ahorita
hold
con-
due to the
con
project we had now with
el
the
Cerezo con las
Cerezo
internas.
with the inmates.
Pero ha sido pues desde mis 6 años que he estado con la costura.
It has been since I was 6 years
siempre
old.
estudiando,
I had been
viendo,
sewing, and to
buscando
this day,
libros,
always
viendo
studying,
videos,
watching, looking for
pues
books,
siempre buscando
watching videos,
las nuevas
and always
tecnologías
looking
que
for
hay,
new
porque en
technologies.
costura y en
in sewing and clothing, new garments, new textures, new textiles, with a lot of technology, are always coming out. And there is always something new to learn.
Roberto, I did a little bit of research, and I noticed that the company is called the Red Thread Project, which is clever. It's very clever. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Is the Red Thread Project, is it just in Mexico, or is it other places as well?
Yeah, so the company started as Polidiseños in Mexico, and then when we got into the prison system, we developed the Red Thread Project. Just because of the background of the meaning of the red thread, which I'm going to read real quick, is the legend of the red thread teaches us that through a labyrinth of encounters, there is a predetermined and perfect path set out for us by the thread, connecting us on a irrevocable route towards our ultimate destination. Along the way, progress, assistance, direction, and clarity will be found on the edge of another person's string with whom you have crossed. Along your string, other people's threads will cross, the lines will touch and sometimes become tangled for a while, but the end of the string will always be there attached to that one person waiting for you to reach it. The string may tangle, contract, and stretch, but it can never be broken.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And I appreciate you sharing that with me and with the listening audience, because I think that gives us a better feel for your project, what you're doing, and definitely the information that your wife gave is very emotional, to say the least. I really appreciate that. That was absolutely great. As a person, as I said, as a board member, and as a person that teaches business, I've taught, as I shared with the audience, taught for a number of years of business. What you're doing with the Red Thread Project is not just good business, it's the right thing to do. It's a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for you, it's a win-win for customers like March and Ash. We find now that we can work with a local vendor who is providing quality work, and the quality work is coming from people that need and want a second chance. So I think all of us together are producing, as I said, this win-win opportunity for people that need a second chance.
Definitely. I mean, one of the things that I mentioned to Marsh and Nash when I was talking to him was that the idea, basically the fundamental part, is I believe in karma. I believe in helping the community. And one of the things that I also mentioned was that, we always depend on government and police to, solve the crime issues and lower the crime index in our cities. But, it's one of those things where, people are pointing at the police for not doing enough, but there's three fingers pointing at you.
Yeah,
it's like
pointing back at you, absolutely.
What have you done?
Yeah.
And one of the things that that we're trying to do here is try to give these people a opportunity, a second chance, and be able to earn a living the right way. If we keep on doing background checks and believing that they're always going to be that way, and not give them jobs, our crime index is never going to go down.
Any final thoughts that you would like to leave out the audience with?
Oh, sorry. Cuando iniciamos ahí,
When we started there,
me preguntaron las muchachas es que
the first thing the woman asked me was if I had ever been in prison
que había estado preso.
or I had a family member who had been in prison.
Dije que no, porque afortunadamente no ha sido así.
I told them no, because fortunately that has not been the
Ellas
case.
me hicieron esa
The thing
pregunta
is,
porque
they asked me
las
this
únicas
question
personas que regresan a la cárcel a
because the
ayudarles,
only
a
people who
darles
return to prison to help them,
algún donativo
to give them some
o
donation
proyecto,
or a
alguna
project,
fundación que se dedica a llevarles
are
y a dar la
usually
palabra
from
de
some
Dios, muchas
foundation that
organizaciones
brings them
religiosas
the
que
word
van.
of God. Many religious organizations go there, or civil association bring them donations of toilet paper or personal hygiene items. These are people who have had the experience of being in prison, people who had never gone through such a situation, never come near. And they were surprised or couldn't believe that we, without having had that experience, were going there to teach them a trade, to be working with them, to give them that hope of a second chance, because that is what they are looking for, a second chance to mend their path, to be seen as people again.
Fue impactante para mí.
It is something very impactful for me.
Porque ellas decían, es que no somos malas.
Because they said, we are not bad.
Porque muchas veces, o varias de ellas llegaron a
Because
cometer
many
un delito
times,
por el simple hecho de
or
no saber
several of them
controlar
committed their
su carácter,
crime
o encontrarse
simply
en un
because they
momento
did not
donde
know
tenían que
how to
tomar una
control their
decisión
character,
de
or
cómo
found
actuar.
themselves in a moment where
A
they had to
veces,
make a decision on
yo
how
digo,
to act.
o aprendí más bien estando ahí,
Sometimes
que no todos son malos,
I say,
todos son buenos.
or I'd rather learn by being there than that everyone is bad or everyone is good.
Creo que tenemos que
And
hacernos la pregunta
before judging a
de cómo
person who
actuaríamos
is in
nosotros
prison,
si nos encontráramos
I
en una
think we must
situación
ask
difícil.
ourselves how we will act if we
Muchos de
found
ellos
ourselves
fueron
in a
así,
difficult
se
situation,
encontraron una situación difícil donde tuvieron que
because
actuar
many of them were
y,
like
pues,
that.
o cometieron
They
un-
found themselves in a difficult
principalmente los
situation
que cometieron
where they had to
homicidio, pues,
act
es porque
and
está en
either
una situación
committed
un
a
poco
crime,
difícil.
mainly those who committed homicide.
Y
It is because they were in a somewhat
yo
difficult
sí invitaría a
situation.
las personas a que
And
antes de juzgar a alguien que
I will
estuvo
invite
preso,
people
traten de
to,
conocer
before
cuál fue
judging
su historia,
someone
el
who
por qué
has been in
por qué
prison,
llegaron ahí.
try to know
Porque
their
no
story,
todos es porque fueron malos,
why they are there,
no todos
why
es
they end up
porque
there,
así lo
because not
quisieron,
everyone is there
o no todos son
because they were bad,
porque
not everyone is there
era
because
su
they
única
wanted to
forma de
be
vida,
there,
o lo único que conocieron en
not
su vida.
everyone is
No
there
tuvieron otra oportunidad.
because it was their
Entonces,
only
es
way of
importante
life or the only
como
thing they
sociedad,
knew in their life.
tratemos
They
de
did not
dar
have
una
another
segunda
opportunity.
oportunidad
So it
a
is
quienes sí
important
desean
that as a
esa
society
segunda
we
oportunidad.
try to give a second chance to those who do want that second chance.
Thank you very much. I can appreciate your comments. Having been a teacher for a number of years, I understand that people come in and you have to take them from where they are, good, bad, or indifferent. And that, yes, people make mistakes. I think there are those of us that have made mistakes and we're not in prison. But I think if we can accept people for who they present themselves to us at the moment and go from that, I think it'll be a much better world. I appreciate you two coming in and sharing that information with us with Cannabis Enlightened. It's a little bit different information that we share, but it is so very important. Now, to the listening audience, if they'd like to get some more information, they might want to, donate to you, or they just might want to talk with the two of you. How would they be able to get in touch with you?
Well, with March and Ash, we're doing a special edition baseball cap. And so when they come into a March and Ash and purchase a special edition baseball cap, there's going to be a QR code there with information on how to, about the project and how they could help the project. But they're also going to have a link on your show as well.
Okay. So people can log on to Cannabis Enlightened and definitely listen to not just this episode, but all the episodes that are on the Oldest Media network and be able to, see exactly what we're doing and get in, as I said, get in touch with you. So thank you very much for both of you. I appreciate you being here, sharing this information, and good luck to you. I hope that, you reach many, many more ladies, and I hope that the response from this episode is going to be tremendous. to the audience. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. This is your host, Dr. Leroy, with Cannabis Enlighten. If you'd like to get in touch with me, reach out. You can send me an email at drleroy@cannabisenlighten.com. And remember, as always, knowledge is power.
Thank you for listening to the Cannabis in Line podcast, sponsored by March and Ash. If you're interested in exploring more about the products and services offered at March and Ash, be sure to visit their website at marchandash.com. Cannabis in Line is produced in San Diego, California. Jessica Garcia serves as a general manager, Elia Ramos as the creative director, JC Polk as executive producer, Lena Alvarez assists with production, and Chad Peace, who is a president and founding partner. To learn more about March and Ash and their premium cannabis products, visit their website at marchandash.com. This podcast is a production of Olas Media. Thank you for listening.
Olas Media.
Ever notice how much birds and fundraisers are alike? One flies around the world singing melodies for all to hear but rarely understood. The other one lives in a nest. If you want to hear from some phenomenal birds, join me, Charity Jen, on the From the Nest podcast, where fundraising takes flight. Find it wherever you get your podcasts or subscribe at olasmedia.com.